Start recording. Stop recording. Button.
Hello everybody, this is Darth Bane with another video, and today I want to tell you about why I like Star Wars. Now, I first started liking it when my aunt got me episodes 1 and 2 for my birthday. I watched just those for a while, and then I got into it with my mother, and I loved it. I went and saw Revenge of the Sith when it came out in theaters, and it was awesome. I mean, when Anakin Skywalker turned into Darth Vader, I was like, oh my god, back then. Now I'm like, it's cool, but it was such a shock for me because I didn't watch them in order. And then after that, I watched the original trilogy. And I just thought it was all awesome. I had no problems. I don't even have a problem with the midichlorian thing. I don't feel that it goes back on original lore because, yes, the original said that the Force binds the galaxy together, and I know people thought it implied that anybody could be Force sensitive, and the midichlorians destroyed that for them, but I don't feel that way. I wouldn't want everybody in the galaxy to have a chance to be Force sensitive. If I have a high midichlorian count, I want to be a Jedi or Sith. I want to be among the elites. I don't want to be sharing power with the galaxy. No, thank you. So, around the time I watched Revenge of the Sith, I also got the Revenge of the Sith book at Barnes & Noble. It was the first Star Wars audiobook I'd ever listened to, and I loved it. I loved the narrator. I loved the sound effects. I loved the music. Audiobooks for Star Wars were just magical for me. And then I believe the next one I listened to was the Dark Nest series, which is a book in the former EU, what would be now classified as Legends, which I'll take as real content any day. But anyway, after that, I got into all kinds of books after Return of the Jedi, Legacy of the Force, Fate of the Jedi. My grandmother and I spent many hours doing that, spending hundreds of dollars, because I remember some of those books were $40 or so. So, it cost a lot of money and time to listen to them. So, it went by for many years that we did that we listened to those books, that we enjoyed Jaina Solo, Jason Solo, Jason Solo's turn to the dark side, which was a lot better than Kylo's. And it was awesome. But then, I think it was 2012, I found out that Disney had bought Star Wars, and I was one of the disappointed ones because I've been to Universal and I've been to Disney, and I've always found Universal more fun. The rides are better. Disney, I always found, especially when I went when I was older, was kiddish, and it was for me. Universal had, say, the Harry Potter resort where I could go on the cool ride that went upside down and stuff. Disney just didn't have that same offer. So when they bought Star Wars, I was like, what? I would have rather Warner Brothers or Universal Studios bought them. I thought Disney would make it for kids. And then when it came out that they were getting rid of the EU and changing it, well, it wasn't a shock at one stage because I'd heard that George Lucas didn't officially sanction the EU. He just let people play in their playground. So it wasn't that shocking, but I still wasn't looking forward really to what Disney had. But I had to deal with it. I saw the Force Awakens trailer, and I was a little impressed with it. It sounded pretty good, so I thought at the very least it could be entertaining. So I went to see it, and I thought it was pretty good. It would never replace the EU, the books I spent hours and days listening to, but it was awesome. It was good for what it was, and I thought the ending gave it a lot of potential. Did I have a lot of questions about Rey? Yes. How did she do the Jedi mind trick? How did she use her powers? How did she beat Kylo Ren at the end of the movie? But the movie ended when she was meeting with Luke Skywalker. So I thought that, okay, we're going to see him, so the next movie will be pretty good. But then Rogue One came out. In Rogue One, I found, okay, the biggest payoff was Darth Vader, especially the ending. The movie was worth seeing just for him slaughtering those rebel scum. I just wish he'd succeeded in getting the plans and changing history. But that did aggravate me too, because they did change stuff, and they changed stuff from their radio drama. For those who don't know, there was a radio dramatization of the original trilogy, and that showed how the Death Star plans got into Leia's possession. And they went and changed that, which, okay, you want to change the EU, fine, but don't change something that thousands or millions of people listen to across the country. That's just a bit insulting. And to add insult to injury, they kept some plot points later on in the Last Jedi novel, well, the part that I listened to, they kept some plot points from the radio series. So you're using it at your whim, but you change the history of the Death Star construction just to change the history? Come on. So, okay, Rogue One was okay. And then the Last Jedi trailer was coming out. And it sounded very good. It sounded very good. Luke Skywalker sounded awesome. I was looking forward to the fight between Finn and Phasma. It really seemed real good. But then I went and saw the movie, and right from the beginning, I was bored. I was bored. Now, when Luke Skywalker first was like, okay, it's time for the Jedi to end, I'm reluctant to train you, I was okay with that. Because, of course, he's older. You're going to have a reluctant hero. That can be good. But as the movie went on, I was like, okay, come on. And then when he thought the Jedi was ending, I thought he meant that it was time to embrace both the dark and the light side, gray Jedi. But that's not what he meant, and I was like, come on. It was so boring. But the part where the movie lost it for me was with how they handled Snoke. Just Kylo killing him like that. And some might say that's good because Kylo would be the leader, but Kylo never got that place in my heart. I love villains, and I thought Snoke had awesome potential. If they treated Snoke right, I probably would have thought this was a good movie and barely thought of anything else. But they didn't, and right at that moment was when they lost me. And then it just went on after that. On and on. Like, okay, they're on crate. Like, it's not over, they're still gonna do more. So, then, Luke didn't fight. He didn't fight Kylo. It was just an illusion. And I was very, forgive the pun, disillusioned. I was very disillusioned. I was very disappointed, especially because when Rey and Kylo fought the guards, they didn't use the Force. Now, I know some people love the lightsaber. For me, I think the Force is everything. That's why my favorite book in the EU was The Force Unleashed, or at least one of my favorite books. Because he just used the Force so much, and that's what it is. I think the lightsaber is a handicap that stops you from accessing your full potential of the Force. For example, Anakin's so much stronger than Obi-Wan. If he just used the Force against him, that would have been it, because Anakin has 20,000, and Obi-Wan, from what I heard, was one of the weakest in the temple. He was just good with the lightsaber, and Anakin played to that to his strength. But anyway, I was just disappointed in the movie. I remember when it came out that they failed to activate the beacon, but they'd gotten to the planet anyway. I remember being like, okay, I guess plans are just irrelevant like that. Like, I remember thinking about it in that way. It was just bad. It was just bad. Like, people can talk about special effects, but like I said before, it just doesn't matter to me. So, okay, I watched The Last Jedi, and when I got out, I couldn't help but wishing I'd been thinking about my school project, because I found that movie a giant waste of time. A giant waste of time that I could have been spent reading fan fiction or other stuff, because that was a waste. So, And some of my family members were like, no, no, you're going too far. But they came around. People are coming around. As time goes on, as they're having time to think about it, they're coming around. But then I read the Last Jedi novel, or at least I read the first 45 minutes, but the thing was an insult. There were some good parts, like the Han Solo funeral, which should have been in the movie, a part with Luke Skywalker, but then it just got insulting with the fighters. Like, it said that they use hollow tanks, and because those little bombers were too small for a hollow tank, you couldn't see each other in the fleet. Since when in Star Wars do you need a hollow tank to see your wingmates? Since when does it not go on scan? And then it treated Akbar, it was like, oh, I'm getting old, I can't do this much longer. And it was so obvious that it was just prepping you to just accept that he died. And at that point, I couldn't take the book anymore. Okay, so then Solo came out. I was pretty okay with Solo at first, but then the ending I was bored by the end of it. I liked that trench warfare at the beginning of the movie. I thought it was pretty good, and at that point I was like, wow, this is going to be a real good movie. But Solo, I still came out like, eh. And now episode 9 will be coming out, and I'm not looking forward to it that much. I'm really not. I don't care about Kylo. I don't care about Rey, because Rey just doesn't have any character development. We don't know why she's fighting. Now, the book can claim, apparently, that she downloaded Kylo's memories. Well, they didn't say that in the movie, and they didn't use it, so I'm not accepting that, because it's just ridiculous. And if it did happen, they had so much more potential to do with that. They could have been like, okay, Rey has nightmares every night about what Kylo did in the dark side. And that could have been such a good story arc. Like her seeing what this madman did. But they just don't know what they're doing. They wrote the movies as individuals instead of a whole trilogy. And it's just insulting. It's just so insulting. So, that's where I am with Star Wars. I can review some EU books and other aspects if you want. I could even try to give you more descriptive scenes from Star Wars movies. Let me know what you think. May the Force serve you well. This is Darth Bane. I'll see you later.
Stop recording. Button.